So much for games with the Stars being boring. Game 4 of the 2020 Stanley Cup Final was a barn burner. I have no idea how they're going to do it again tonight, but the Tampa Bay Lightning are now 1 win away from the Stanley Cup with their 5-4 win in Game 4. Let's not waste any time. The game starts, Tampa just looks like they're controlling play. It's not just the fact that the shots are 3-0, those are just shots. It really felt like they were dictating the play, like they had a lot more of the puck. But does that matter? No! Tampa on a bit of a wonky line change, and John Klingberg identifies that, flies in. And just like we've seen a few times from the Stars in the Stanley Cup Final, they fly in, they take a shot, it gets blocked, they get their own rebound, it goes in. It reminds me of the Joel Kiviranta goal, and that's exactly what John Klingberg does here to make it 1-0 Stars. And it's from their first shot of the game, and Tampa, who's been pretty headstrong in these playoffs, you see the wind kind of die from the sails there. I don't care who you are and how confident you are in your goalie. If you surrender a goal on the first shot of the game, you're not going to feel great about it. And it's a good thing the Stars made the most of their opportunities in the first period because, like I said, shots aren't everything, but they're kind of something, and the shots were only 7-2 with under 2 minutes to go in the first. Jamie Benn wins a puck battle in his own zone, in the defensive zone, and then he takes off. He must have seen something that he liked. You're absolutely right. This is what he saw. Tampa, what are you doing? Joe Pavelski identifying it as well, flies in. It's a clear 2-on-1. He's wide open. He snipes it in, and for Andrei Vasilevskiy, what are you supposed to do? You face 3 shots in the first period, in the entire first period, and one is a guy getting his own rebound at the speed of light, and another is this wide open opportunity. And with about 90 seconds to go in the frame, if Tampa doesn't pick up their socks, they're about to go into the second period down 2-0. And if you're Tampa, it's not a good feeling because you know you only really have the second period to get back in this game, because in the third, you know the Stars aren't just going to park the bus, they're going to take the wheels off and put it on blocks. It's not a criticism, it works. Worked in Game 1, actually. But this is the Tampa Bay Lightning. They can change a game like that. Ondrej Palat sends a Hail Mary into the Stars zone. It was an excellent pass, but I got to admire everything about Brayden Point. The foot speed of Brayden Point in this situation, knowing he can win about any race, keep that in mind for later in the game, flies in on Anton Khudobin, just shifty dangles all over the place. That looks pretty uncomfortable. And Brayden Point, I will die mad at that contract, brings Tampa to within 1 heading into intermission. Enormous. Now, what did you notice about that first period? What did you notice about me being right? Only 1 penalty called. See, told you they would put the whistles away. And then, of course, the beginning of the second period is just me getting slowly more wrong as the game went on. Jamie Alexiak getting the second penalty of the game after getting the first penalty of the game as well. Tampa's on the power play. And on the power play, Alex Killorn with the puck, working it behind the... That went in. That went in! I said I will die mad at Brayden Point's contract, his second of the game. And just like that, no more parking the bus. We got a brand new game at the beginning of the second. 2-2. I saw some criticism that Anton Khudobin didn't pick up the puck in that situation. It was a bobbling puck. How are you supposed to know that it's going to go in that direction? It took a funny bounce. And I've watched the replay a bunch of times. I'm not actually sure how the puck really springs up. I'm sure you guys have seen it, but I keep watching it and Killorn swipes at it and then the puck is in the air. That's the next thing I see. It's Anton Khudobin, man. He's a really good goalie, not Spider-Man. Before we get to the rest of the game, I alluded to it off the top. The Dallas Stars obviously not boring in this game. For some of the criticism I've got for saying that, dude, I've been watching them throughout the playoffs. You can't tell me they haven't had some boring games. But now that I've continued to watch, they've definitely had more entertaining ones than not. And I think part of what's confusing about the Dallas Stars is how aggressively different they seem to be, just by my eyes, in different situations. When they have the 2-0 lead, they're going to play a certain way because they got the 2-0 lead. Not that they completely parked the bus. I mean, it was only in the first period, but the second Tampa ties it, the Stars are an immediate threat to score again. Speaking of which, halfway through the second period, Tyler Seguin with the partial breakaway, you know he's thinking maybe I shouldn't even shoot this. He's flying all over the place. Vasilevskiy stretched out. There's a little sliver of air. Seguin flips it in, but he doesn't get it, but oh my goodness, it goes in! Corey Perry with the Corey Perryest goal ever. I think it hit his skate, it hit someone else's teeth or something, and then it might have got part of his stick and trickled across the line like that, and Tyler Seguin's just like, yeah, and I helped. And he sure did, man. I've talked about this on a few different platforms. It's so often throughout his career, you go, oh, Tyler Seguin hasn't scored in 20 games, or he'll go on a ridiculous slump. And you look and you go, oh, that's the darndest thing. His team keeps winning. Obviously, it'd be amazing if he chipped in with a goal or two, but that's a fantastic fantastic play, and he does a lot that just goes unnoticed. Not going unnoticed, the Dallas Stars are back on top thanks to that Perry goal. It's 3-2. And now if you're Andrei Vasilevskiy, you got to be like, what the heck do I got to do? It's like 3 goals on what, 7 shots? Well, if you're the Dallas Stars, you have a huge chance just 2 minutes later to bust this thing wide open. The Lightning can't clear the zone. Nick Camano alone in front? How? Andrei Vasilevskiy stretching out with the Gumby groin and... I'm not going to call it that. Well, listen, he made the save. It was impressive, and it was one of those remember that save moments. And Yanni Gourde goes, I will remember that for the next 10 minutes. Just never call it Gumby groin ever again. And I say, okay, Yanni Gourde. And he says, what are you doing in Edmonton? And oh, would you look at that again? Tampa on another power play. This time it's Andrew Cogliano off for hooking on Victor Hedman, and the power plays are 3-1 for Tampa. We're gonna talk about it later. And what follows is a frustrating goal for the Dallas Stars. Nikita Kucherov with the slap pass to kind of get it in front for Patrick Maroon, create a little bit of chaos. It goes right off of Esa Lindell's skate and tape to Yanni Gourde. Bangs it in, 3-3. Another one where I saw Anton Khudobin get a little bit of criticism, and I'm like, how are you going to criticize a goalie for not being able to stop a shot that the other team didn't even really mean to create? Listen, Nikita Kucherov's really good, but he's not like, I am going to shoot the puck off of the other team's skate, and I'm going to anticipate that he's going to move the skate, and it's going to go tape to my teammate, and the teammate knows that I'm trying to do that as well. I don't know about any criticisms really, but the praise belongs to Yanni Gourde. I believe they call that putting yourself in a position to succeed. 3-3. Third period. Alex Killorn fighting with Esa Lindell behind the net, gets the puck, brings it in front, spins, fires. Oh, now we're in a situation where, okay, like Vasilevskiy, for example, all right, I don't necessarily think you're doing bad, but 3 goals and 7 shots, are you all right? With Khudobin, I find myself going, yeah, but it's a perfectly placed shot. It's elusive, good for Killorn, but here we are again. I guess the unfortunate thing about the goalies in the Stanley Cup Final is they always have to play the teams that made it to the Stanley Cup Final. They're pretty good. Killorn with a dart in Tampa has their first lead of the game. The Stars now have less than half a period to tie this. Less than half a period before they are down 3-1. Not great, Bob. Joe Pavelski with a little spin and shoot himself. You hear Tyler Seguin, yeah! He scored! Finally! The drought is over! Tyler Seguin! A moment of inspiration! Stick-to-itiveness! You can do... Oh, it went off Kevin Shattenkirk. Joe Pavelski with the goal, and a goal's a goal, but Seguin really thought he had it, man. Poor guy. You even see him on the bench, and he's smiling, but he's like, ah! Dude, whatever, man. Doesn't matter. And now we head to overtime. Well, no, not yet, do we? Because Tampa Bay, with a chance at an odd man rush in the final minute. Oh, what happened? Is that what they're calling it? Corey Perry called for interference on Brayden Point. Hooking, tripping, I would have understood interference okay. And Brayden Point called for embellishment. When you nail it, you nail it. Here's a great tweet from Pete Blackburn. This is off the chart stupidity from Corey Perry with under a minute left in a tie game. Absolutely. It was clearly a penalty no matter what you thought of the embellishment call. And number 2, this is as cowardly an embellishment call as you can make. Yes, absolutely. Because whoever made the call, doesn't matter. They knew that by making that call, they were potentially awarding the Tampa Bay Lightning essentially an early overtime. If they score here on this power play, it's done. But look at this. Look at where Brayden Point is and where Corey Perry is. Corey Perry's not moving his feet. Brayden Point is. There is a 0% chance Corey Perry wins that foot race. He's not going to. Brayden Point is a lightning bolt, no pun intended. The only thing that makes me think it could have been embellishment, and I wonder if this is what was looked at the end of it, it's like Brayden Point sort of held on to the stick. And even if it's tripping or hooking, or for some reason they call it interference, even if it's one of those things, and you sort of grip the stick there between the legs and you try to draw the call, well, what would you call that? It's embellishment, right? And if you give the officials a sliver of light to call that, they're going to. But man, you're Brayden Point. You have a chance to be in an odd man rush. You know you're going to get the puck there. It's going to be a hat trick for you, and you're going to win the game. I have a hard time believing he's going to willingly go down in that scenario. So we get overtime. And the controversial penalty call in overtime Mikhail Sergachev. I'm just kidding. But he did take a penalty at the beginning of overtime. Just to, you know, the refs wanted to let you know. Listen, we're giving you this, and then we're going to screw you a few minutes later. That's the conspiracy. No. Tampa Bay kills it, and then what happens a few minutes later? Jamie Benn tangled up with Tyler Johnson. This is the controversy. Basically, Tyler Johnson was accused of going down easy against Jamie Benn. Make your jokes. Are you watching this with someone right now? I don't get that joke. I'll explain. I'll Google it after. I think it definitely looked like Tyler Johnson went down easy just because Jamie Benn's such a gronk. But it wasn't just the arm, which everyone was pointing out that was obvious. Benn also a little bit kicks out Johnson's leg. I mean, there's different ways to kick. It doesn't have to be with your skate. You can do it with your leg, sort of a little bit of a sweep. Here is where I will stick up for the Dallas Stars in their complaint through all this. If you've watched any Stanley Cup final in your entire life, you would say that's not the standard. That's just not a penalty in overtime in Game 4 of the Stanley Cup final, which is more than halfway through the Stanley Cup final. It's just not. Now, to be fair, that's a correction, though. The complaint is that they never call anything in the Stanley Cup final, and you're just allowed to get away with murder. Patrick Maroon and the St. Louis Blues won a cup that very way last year. But you can't go by how past Stanley Cup finals have gone. You gotta go by how this one's gone. And there have been a lot of penalties in the Stanley Cup final. I keep waiting for it to go down. It's not. I will say this, though. The nerve of Joe Pavelski after the game. Oh, he just breathed on him. Every Golden Knights and Avalanche and maybe even some Blues fans that watched any playoff hockey last year are like, how do you sleep at night? You know Cody Eakin's phone case got tested when he read that. But I'm getting distracted. Do I think it was a penalty? Yes. Did I think it would get called in overtime in Game 4 of the Stanley Cup final? No. Hindsight's 2020. Like, if you're the Dallas Stars, you gladly go, I don't want the Mikhail Sergachev power play. Because if the Lightning don't get a penalty at the beginning of overtime, I think maybe they let Jamie Benn go with this one. I do. But now we're just talking too much about the penalty and not enough about the result. What happened, Steve? On the power play, look at this. Victor Hedman with the fake slapper again. And like I pointed out, and not only are the Dallas Stars standing still, but look at all the room Shattenkirk's got. Now, of course, this is what he ended up shooting at, but look at the screen in front from Patrick Maroon. Hudobin's got no shot. But Shattenkirk does shat deuces with the overtime winner. It seems like a guy you maybe shouldn't buy out. Rangers are like, so what? Cries in first overall pick. But the Tampa Bay Lightning now take a 3-1 series lead. And yes, there was some controversy. Yes, there was some complaining after the game. But would you like some adorable, heartwarming puppy content? Here is Steven Stamkos coming down the tunnel and hugging Shattenkirk after the game. Aww. Listen, we can't talk like the Stanley Cup has already been awarded. We can't even talk like Steven Stamkos isn't going to play tonight. I have no idea just yet. But what an interesting story there is to tell if Tampa does do the whole thing, because he's basically been in a bubble for 2.5 months to play 2 minutes and 47 seconds. He might be the best teammate of all time. So I will leave it there. Leave your thoughts in the comment box down below. I gotta leave it there because there is a game tonight. Back-to-back games in the Stanley Cup Final. 2020. It's wild, man. Considering some of the things 2020's thrown at us, yeah, back-to-back games in the Stanley Cup Final. That's cool. So that is it for this one. Thank you very much for watching. Click like if you like this video. Click subscribe if you really liked it. Tell your friends. Maybe don't Google the Jamie Benn joke. Just, you don't have to.